Renaissance Wednesday. Wednesday. Musings.
Welcome back, and it's still NASA's Wednesday Musings, and we're still having the hot conversation about premium side chicks and polygamy. With me and my wonderful guests, Demola, Uti, and Yomi, and we're going to just go right into the second part of this three-part conversation, where we're going to be focusing on whether polygamy is the base of the African man, or is monogamy something that has been imposed on us by westernization. And I'll start with Demola's views on this.
Okay, all right, thank you. What I would say is this, and I'll take it back a little bit. Back when our parents were growing up, polygamy was something that was very rampant. Whether you were Muslim or Christian, you have an apostle that had 6 wives, you had an Alhaji that had 4 wives, and that never stopped them having the odd girlfriend outside. Even after marrying 4 women, 6 women, there's still the odd girlfriend outside that the other wives would look at and give, like, let me use the word of Bobrisky, bombastic side eye. But today, you realize that a lot of the men probably can be 1 or 2 that have like 2 wives. Everybody else is more or less like 1 wife, and the side chick. So polygamy has more or less died a natural death from its natural form, whereby you could come in and bring wife number 2, number 3, and the parents of wife number 1 will come and say, you know what, this is how it goes. My dad had 4 wives, your daddy has 4. Why do you want to stop your husband from having same set of wives, as long as he can take care of you financially? So what I feel is that because of the way the economy is and what have you, and then the women themselves are more empowered right now. A lot of the women then were more or less housewives, probably not so educated and what have you. They didn't have a lot of options. So their husbands were like their mini gods. But today, women are educated, they are champions of industries and what have you. And then the economy as well has become a little bit tighter. So the whole idea of having 2, 3, 4, 5 wives in a 4-bedroom apartment in Lekki does not make any sense. It's 2 things: affordability and the fact that the women that are available for marriage today are far more established and far more, how will I put it, distinguished in terms of their career than what we had back in the day. Speaks a lot around why polygamy in its pure sense is no longer popular. Hence why the whole side chick conundrum has now become more of a rampant thing.
Very interesting views you have there, Demola. I'd like to hear what Uti thinks about your views on polygamy.
So I think Demola is largely right. I just don't think it's a blanket statement. Mm-hmm. So the fact that, yes, in certain cadres or segments of society, polygamy isn't a thing, but it's still very much in other cadres of society. Mm-hmm. So I was giving the example of the gay man who still has 2 wives in his little gate house, and they have their kids and they're living that life. But a very quick example that I'll give, I have someone that I know who actually got married without letting her family know that she was a 3rd wife. Wow. So it was after the wedding that they then found out that he had 2 other wives. Wow. And she was fine with it. Nobody could understand how.
What was her reasoning? Why was she content? Was that what she always wanted, or she just thought she had?
I don't know that. In fact, nobody could make sense of the why. Mm-hmm. But she was perfectly happy.
She did so.
So today he has 3 wives. In fact, he now has 4.
Oh, he's married after her.
He's married another person after her. And it's a very interesting situation because she now doesn't live in the country, but is still very much married.
Muslim?
No. Interestingly enough. Mm. Well, she isn't. I don't know about him. Okay. But no longer lives in the country, but still very much married. So comes back, and when I come back, you who came after me, I don't want to see you disappear. And she does.
I don't understand that. You who came after me.
Yes.
So she doesn't live with
the husband full time, but when she is with her husband, she who came after her, the fourth wife, should disappear. So she.
This is my time. I'm
This
going
is
to
my
spend.
time. So, but who makes that decision? The man or
She does?
No, she does. So she's dictating the terms for the fourth wife.
Interesting.
So in context of why I told the story, because in context of entitlements and side chicks and all, I'm just trying to say this one is actually a wife, but at this point, she technically is dethroned and becomes premium side chick. Bye. Then you come back later.
Wow. I'd like to hear your views, Yemi. What do you think?
Okay, so I think, first of all, going back to what Demola had said, my understanding is that the cultures and the desires of men haven't changed, but because of their budgets, they've become slightly more cowardly. And in trying to have their cake and eat it, they're now being cheapskates and keeping someone on the side rather than using your full chest to say, I want 2 women and I'm going to have 2 women or however many women. But then in terms of Uti talking about this situation, I think it goes to my point about emotions and how if you're going to get into this thing where there are multiples, then you have to understand what it is that you're getting into. And the fact that she has to dethrone the new favorite every time she comes in shows that, in my opinion, she was happy to be the last wife, because then she'd be the chosen one, she'd be the favorite, she'd be the prize at every high table at the party. But the moment she was given a dose of her own medicine, it became problematic.
Yeah. So interesting perspectives, right? There's 2 sides of the same coin. But if I speak from the perspective of the fourth wife, we started off saying full chest. He's done it with full chest.
Yes.
But guess what? She has the entitlement. Now she's fourth wife.
Yes.
But when another wife turns up, technically she becomes problem side chick. So you see when I say that the situations are not black and white.
The reason why she doesn't become the side chick is because everybody knows who she is. It's so for those who may have watched a soap opera called, I think it was called Checkmate. There was a gentleman called Chief, and he had lots of wives, and he had one called Peace that was extremely problematic, and she was the favorite. Now, they didn't all get along, but they all knew of each other. There wasn't anyone who was in the shadows. So if anything happens to Chief today, all of us can stake a claim to properties and everything else. You don't have somebody who, sneaks into the funeral wearing the ashwebi of the wives, and everyone is like, So that's the difference. We're all wives. We don't have to like each other. We may find it problematic that, he spent 2 extra days with her than he has with me. But we all know what we are, and we all know where we stand in this situation versus the side chick that, by my definition, the wife doesn't know about, or society hasn't accepted the same way they've accepted the wife. But a second wife or a junior wife, whether she's living in the main house, or you've got one wife living in Banana and another wife living in Parkview, everybody knows he has 2 wives. So I think that's, for me, where it's different. And that's why I say there's a difference between the side chick thing, which I find cowardly, if what you wanted was multiple women, versus the second wife, which they don't all live in the same house, because I don't want anyone to poison me.
Clear to everyone.
But everyone knows I have these 2 wives, or I have more than one.
So, guys, what I still don't understand is this whole idea of the economy and affordability, and why polygamy is seemingly waning just because men can't afford it. But having a side chick doesn't also seem to be a cost-effective venture. It's not like it's cheap. Because in fact, if anything, I think it's more expensive. No? So when you say that guys are not practicing polygamy because of the economy, so they would rather the flight to safety is having a side chick. I don't necessarily agree from that, but I think it's coming more from a seeming moral superiority to be seen as a type of way to appear monogamous, right? Because the reason it's a secret and the reason she's a side chick and people don't know is so that you put out an image of a monogamous person, but you still want to have your cake and you're still polygamous innately, and so you're doing it secretly. It's not. I don't think it's the economy. If it's economy, then you have no business having a side chick because you will still say it's not free. And if it's the kind of side chick that you're talking about, the ones that like banana island, trust me, it will cost you. In fact, marrying a wife from the village will pay you.
Okay.
You know that?
I disagree.
Okay.
I'll tell you why. There's a saying that goes, beautiful ones are not yet born.
Okay.
For the men that have the financial capability,
Right.
time to pursue a side chick, marrying that side chick is like marrying the chicken and the egg. Having her as a side chick outside means that along the line, she can decide to leave you. Or you can decide to leave her.
Yeah, but it doesn't stop what you're spending in the interim.
No, but what it means is that you have the opportunity to go and look for another one. So it's the thrill of the hunt.
Yes, but you're still. My point is, if you're talking economy and how it's expensive to have an additional or multiple wives. You're spending. Those side chicks, they're not free. The reason there's the value proposition. I was talking premium side
chicks.
Yeah,
don't listen to me. Side chick has an expiry date.
It doesn't matter. The same way. Yeah.
Decided either by the man.
Right. So the longevity of it, because when she's your wife, then you're supposedly committed to her for a longer time. Right.
As it is.
Uti, what do you think?
The fact that you're at this point, I'm like, so what are we? All I was hearing in my head is, I guess the conversation is around premium side chicks. Because when you bring it down to a purely economic conversation, remember where I started off from? There are multiple motivations for side chicks. If we took this conversation, if we lived in a world where a mirror could show everybody's secrets, you'd be amazed how many side chicks. You'll be like, even you know, so there are multiple, and I know that in the space of this conversation we can't break it down, so we try and keep it to the straight and narrow. Does the economic aspect play a factor? Yes, because even in the taking of multiple wives, that is part of the reality now. If we even come away from this conversation, even the number of kids people are having now. Yeah. So does the economic aspect play? I think definitely it does play, yes. Are there I even think significant. Well, so I think that it has caused not only polygamy to evolve, but it has caused the concept of even side chicking to evolve. Because if we stay on topic, there's premium side chicks. There are plenty side chicks. There are plenty different types of side chicks. We can come down all to the base level of hookup.
Yeah.
So there's all sorts. And remember I said the motivation of the woman. Some women are happy to be premium side chick and they don't need Banana Island. If you put me in Surulere, I'm good. So it is definitely a factor in the changes. But are there other factors that say today that polygamy is it the same thing? You could, because once you say I'm in singularity from the man's perspective, we're monogamous, it's just you and I.
Yeah.
Then without all the indefinite nature of the transaction, let me bring in the definitions that we have used.
Yeah.
You can, in your mind, when you know how you've seen those videos, those memes where she sniffs the chocolates, then she eats the lettuce. When she closes her eyes, she could be the second wife. Perspective.
Interesting. Okay, Demon, do you have anything to say to that?
No, we had a conversation.
Okay, so maybe I live in a bubble, and the reason I say that is, to me, if you're going to have a side chick, then you should just hold it to the full chest and marry the person. But I hear you in terms of the economic implications, etc., that you have to also consider. And what we're trying to focus on in this part of the conversation is whether it's actually a cultural thing from an African perspective, or is it has the Western world imposed monogamy on us, and we now feel like, and which is why we're now seeing people pretend not to be polygamous, and then so they rather have a secret side chick so that they're not seen to be, from a spiritual point of view, committing some sort of sin, or from a societal point of view, like being irresponsible, right? So what would you say to that, Yomi?
I think that's a tough question to answer. Only because in terms of polygamy, there are so many different variations in the African context.
Right.
So I had a conversation with someone once where they were explaining to me the story of Sarah and Hagar. These are people from the Bible who were both the wives of Abraham. Now, the person explained it to me in the Yoruba context, which was that in the Yoruba context, Sarah would have married Hagar. So, although Hagar
married Sarah to her husband?
No. Okay. Sarah would have been a husband to Hagar, where she married Hagar. So whatever children Hagar had for Abraham
her husband,
would be Sarah's children. So in terms of the responsibilities and the taking care of Hagar, she was Sarah's property and Sarah's responsibility.
Wow.
So that was a form of polygamy.
Right.
Then you have the one that we know more of, which is a man who has multiple wives and he courts them himself and he marries them. He chooses and marries them himself. So you have that as well. Now, in terms of whether Western ideals have been forced upon us, where we now look down on polygamy, to some extent, maybe that's the case. I think from the perspective of women not wanting to share, I think that there is a Western influence there where suddenly there is the thought of I'm more than, I don't deserve to share you, or you don't deserve to spread yourself so thin. I deserve 100% of you, especially if you are demanding 100% of me. So I think that yes, maybe there is some Western influence there. I don't think it's a negative thing though, because I think that maybe because of Western influence, I've become greedy.
Yeah.
So I also don't want to share. If I'm giving you all of me, I want 150% of you. That's how this transaction is
transaction?
working. I'm just saying, and it is. I am giving you my entire life. What am I getting from you?
But you're asking for more, 150.
Because I'm greedy. It's not my fault.
Okay, I'm glad.
That's just how
you're owning it.
No, but it's true. Yeah. You know, we talk about these men that are.
But don't you sometimes just be like, I mean, sometimes you even say like, I want to break for my kids. I just want to go on holiday. And I
want to break for my kids. I don't want them to have another mother.
Exactly.
I'm just asking because you say that you want 150%.
Yes.
Always, all the time, always on, always present, always.
No, not in that sense. I think it's more.
I want 150%.
I don't want to share you with other people.
But when I don't have you, it's not because you're with somebody else. So I do want some time to myself. I do want some time with my friends.
And you probably want some time to yourself as well. And I give you
and he's allowed that as well. But what I'm saying is, The reason you're not with me is not because you need something I can't give you. It's because you need some time on your own. In the same way in which the reason I'm not with you is not because I'm yearning for something else.
Yeah.
I may just want to nap.
Wonderful.
So,
Okay. And I'll
Cannot
stop
be
you there.
all things to all men.
We can't be all things to all men. I totally agree. And I think this point that we've made takes us to the perfect, the next question, which is the ending part of this conversation, which is sad because I think we could have several conversations about polygamy and premium side chicks. But my point or my take or my musing is to each their own. Personally, maybe through westernization or for whatever, I don't like to share, right? And I would be on Yomi's side if you're going to be mine and I'm giving you everything. I sort of have an expectation that you give me. I'm not saying it's probably what's going to happen, but that would be my preference.
Most people
And
don't
the perfect. No, some people don't mind. Some people, the
That's
women.
most.
Yeah, most. But there are women that actually don't mind sharing. I do not belong to that group, sadly. Maybe I'm greedy like you too. But I think that the question then is polygamy here to stay and are side chicks here to stay? Stay tuned and let's hear what everybody else has to say about this.